Good evening, everybody, and welcome on in to SSRL. It is Season 7, Round 3, down in Japan. And, of course, we are looking forward to this one. A hard track to overtake on, though, but usually can give us some good action. And, of course, remember, all qualifying in the wet now. So, of course, we've knocked out the first 2 rounds from Azerbaijan and Singapore. We are now off to Japan. Then next week, we are off to Texas. It is Austin in the United States, followed by Mexico and Brazil, rounding out your first 6 rounds. Last time we were here in Japan, it was an Andy domination who took fastest lap. He took pole, and he, of course, took the win. And that was, of course, the first moments we saw Bavish truly come alive here. And of course, going into the standings for the drivers tonight, it is Bavish on top by 9 points there. Andy Andre and Russasiri second and third, not in that order though, vice versa. Then it's Moksha and Energetic rounding out your top 5. Herman finally in contention for the longest time, we've not said that. Then Mr. Welter, Race Chase, Verstappen and Quincy rounding out your top 10. Then it's Bards, Kavachka, Talcangino, Flip and Crank George, rounded out by Ryan Brooks, Andrew, Kwan, Shaggy, and the only reserve so far, Salvi, who had a very excellent drive last week. Here your constructors, of course, it shouldn't be a surprise that Williams are leading the way, considering Bavish doing most of the heavy lifting in that team, with Alpine, McLaren, Pixalba and Ferrari rounding out your top 5, followed by Mercedes, Racing Bulls, Haas, Aston Martin, and the Red Bulls rounding out your 10 constructors so far. Of course, we are currently in the wet, and it looks like a McLaren on our screens there as we now cut away. Only 14 for tonight. So a few drivers missing, unfortunately, but we should still have some good action regardless. Who will be first on for a lap? It is going to be Andy Andre, just going through 130R right as we speak. And just a few things beforehand, by the way, the rule of the full wets was only 4 last week now, so of course that does mean that the rule does not apply this week. Everybody onto what should be the faster intermediate tyres. But anyway, here we go. So Andy Andre goes across the start-finish line, and he will now begin his lap, going through into what is literally called the first turn. And then continuing on, and he will approach the 6th section in a few moments' time. Of course, a 5-kilometer circuit, which rounds up to, I think, about 3.7, 3.8 miles, was originally a Honda test circuit. But since that has been developed for more racing in Super Formula, Super GT, including F1, I don't know if any of its support series has been visiting here, though, like F2 and F3. I think they've usually skipped this one. But then again, I will double-check that if I am able to. Of course, there is some stats I also kind of need to try and finish off in the intermission between qualifying and the race. But at the moment, we are currently seeing the last winner here from Season 5 in the SSRL universe. It is Andy Andre, currently leading the 13 drivers behind him as they all start their out laps and then eventually their hot laps. But Andy will be the one who will set a representable gauntlet for everybody to match. Now, Bavish here already leading by 9 points in the championship going into this one from Russasiri. Of course, Russasiri taking the win from qualifying in 3rd last week, and he'll be hoping to do more of the same going into the next few weeks. Of course, was championship contender in Season 3, but when it got to the penultimate race in Monaco, despite finishing a respectable 2nd place, that left him out of the championship as Herman was able to mathematically knock him out going into that final round, which of course then saw the two make contact going into it was Jeddah at the time back in Season 3. But back into current affairs, that's Andy with the 141.0 across the line now. So that is going to be a representable gauntlet, I will say that for free. As Quincy, I think, is going to be not next to the line. So that is going to go to Bavish, I think. But he's invalidated the lap, so he can go again. As, you know, the intermediates don't really need that. Well, in comparison, don't need that much control over the soft tyre. As now we are seeing the next driver, Verstappen, also validated. So that means he will start again. So is it Moksha to the line? No, it is not. It's his teammate Kovachka with a 144.3, but also Moksha invalidated. So a lot of invalidations happening here in Japan tonight. But then Andrew, back with us at last, is up to pole position himself. And that is 31 hundredths there ahead of Andy Andre. But these are... This is early days just yet, as there's a Haas parked up at the snake section there. As now Tarkangino up into third place there, 142.9. That should be beaten, all things considered. Then Trugster up to third himself. Trugster to Andrew, very close at the moment so far, but of course remembering that these are only the first few laps coming in. Then Ryan Brooks with a 141.4. Herman does not finish that lap and goes into the pits, so he will not put his name on the board just yet, but fellow son looking to do that. But Quincy as well. Well, great qualifying for him last week, but 9th place in the race, so looking to really redeem himself going into this week. Of course, let's see, I'm just trying to think if he's raced it. Well, he has raced in Japan before, but I can't quite remember the results off the top of my head. His pace has not really come to fruition until Season 6, really, where, of course, he took Division 2 and took the Division 2 championship from Pleasant Snake, but also his pace hasn't been as consistent as I'd hoped across all the leagues there. So, of course, Quincy's still a bit vulnerable in certain areas and will certainly, well, want to at least nip some downsides in the bud, as then Bavish goes to the top of the timing boards and proving that he is not somebody to be messed with. He is straight to the top in this early part of qualifying. 6.5 minutes gone, and there is Bavish now on top, but his teammate now looking to try and do a bit more heavy lifting than he is used to. Let's see what he can do as he goes into the Casino Triangle now, or the Casio Triangle, beg your pardon, and now through the final corner. Quincy will go all the way to the right-hand side as he sets a time on the board. It's only good for 7th place, and that is, well, it's just over 1.6 seconds, no, just under 1.6 seconds away. Quincy was probably hoping for a bit more on that one, but didn't quite find it. Verstappen again has had a problem on his outlap, and he's just going to come into the pits and call it for now, and is going to try again. To try and get another time on the board, but at the moment there's a McLaren and somebody else fighting for track position. Let's just have a quick look to see who that is. Looks to be an Alpine there. It looks like, not it would be Herman there, but it's clearly not. That must be Ryan Brooks then. It is not Ryan Brooks either. I am trying to figure out who that is, and it looks to be fellow son. No, it's not him either. Who could that be? Is it Quincy already? No, it's not Quincy either. Is that Bavish? It is. There we go. We got there eventually. It was Bavish there, of course, just sharing the hairpin with the McLaren earlier in their lap. And, of course, Bavish just coming off his pole time as well. So he's got nothing to really worry about, as Verstappen has decided to say, I just don't have any real chance in qualifying. For some reason, invalidating the laps here. So he's got a bit of work to do in the race. He will start from last position. Oh, yes, he's serving the qualifying ban. Chat, he's serving a qualifying ban. Sorry about that. I was told prior to going live, and I completely forgot. But there you go. So Verstappen with a qualifying ban, and of course he will start from last place. So at least all the drivers around him will have one less thing to worry about. But we know Verstappen is good on pace, and when he's down and out, he can find a way through. So don't count him out just yet. As Quincy now finds the top of the timing board, so 140.9. That is just over half a tenth faster than his teammate. But, of course, his teammate has just started a flying lap behind this McLaren that we're looking at right now. And let's have a look at the rest of the lap. It is Degner's 1 and then Degner 2 there. As Trugster out to the top of the timing board. So things starting to turn upside down here in Japan. 9 minutes to go. Long way still. We're only just getting to the halfway point as Ryan Brooks now pops it up into second place, 4 tenths away. But I'm really interested to see what Moksha can do, because every time he's qualified, he's found himself outside the top 10 in these first 2 rounds, and he is hoping to try and make that right tonight as Rista Siri up to second now. And so, of course, he's coming in tonight after getting a win last week, and he is hoping for more of that luck to continue. He's got just under 2 tenths of a second to the pole sitter there. Just under over 8.5 minutes to go now, and we're going to see Moksha tackle 130R, and then we'll see Ryan Brooks behind him do the same. So let's come off of the onboard there, and we are now looking at the McLaren going into the triangle now, Casio Triangle that is. And he has... So look, that looked okay there from Moksha, but is it going to be good enough to be competitive? Can he get into the top 10? Yes, he can. A 140.6, and that was not Ryan Brooks behind him. Was that Bavish behind him then and just went into the pits? Yes, it will be. Is Quincy on a flyer? No, I think he's going to come into the pits. So who is next across the line then? I think that is Race Chase. No, it will be his teammate, Andrew. And he is currently nearly 1.5 seconds down in Sector 2, so this is not really going to mean a whole lot of anything, as he will now come into the pits. But what about fellow son in that sole Flying Racing Bulls is 5th place, so he is now come into the top 5 and behind Moksha there. So Moksha finally finding the top 10 in that McLaren and is finally in a good position to take some positions in the race if he so feels like it. Only driver as Kvachka also sets a time. Look at that, 141.6. So it's really tight at the midfield there. So Kvachka even looking a bit looking like a bit of a contender. Of course, he's used to starting outside the top 10 and then finding his way in, but hasn't been able to do that in this most recent season here, at least in the last couple. As Andy Andre now to the top of the timing boards by nearly 0.8 of a second there, and that is more what we want to see. What about Rush Siri? He's starting another flying lap and is about to, well, hopefully get close to that time. Needs to find just over 0.9 of a second there. And I'm confident he can do that, or at least match it, as he has a bit of a moment coming out of the second turn there in Suzuka. Now through the snake corners, absolutely challenging in these type of F1 cars. Not much, well, I say not much aerodynamics, but of course you have to take this at a medium to slow speed. So of course you're not really going to have the grip that you want. So of course I'm sure everybody will be trying to compromise between straight line speed, with the only DRS zone being down the start finish straight as well. So you kind of want some top speed there, but how much do you compromise to maybe lose cornering grip there? Of course that is something they will have had to have contended with throughout the evening. So we'll see how that all goes out, but Andy Andre usually finds that perfect balance and just kind of gets the job done. So Andy there, of course, looking poised to take victory in these early moments of qualifying. But of course, we know what happened to him in Singapore. Despite looking good in qualifying, it was 4th place there. But sadly, it was a slight tap with the wall, and that was what ultimately made him a DNF, and that was the biggest upset. But then Trugster even goes to match that, so maybe Trugster's in this battle after all. And of course, his famous saying from round one must finish with 4 wheels. Well, for 2 rounds, he's not been doing that. DNF'd last week as well from 6th place. So a lot to prove here. Needs to prove his own saying good, as now Rush the Series is coming to the line there. And he is going to be in pole position. Here we go. Can he make it 2 in a row? Well, he's on the right track so far. And at the moment, we'll see how he can do when we get into the race. I think it is Bavish coming to the line to start a flying lap. Of course, it invalidates the out lap, but that does not matter as long as you didn't invalidate within the final 2 corners. But Herman here is what we need to talk about. Now, got 3rd place last week, but once penalties were applied, he was demoted down to 5th place. Now, this still meant he went from last to 5th, so it was a 13-place improvement, but I think there was some contact between him and another driver, which sent him all the way to the back. I think it was Energetic that submitted the report. He did actually message me last week saying he might not have taken part in Tuesday's race, but in the end, he did end up taking part, and of course we will go through those results with you tomorrow, and that'll be with the German driver we are looking at right this moment, as he now goes into the Casio Triangle to complete another flying lap. He is starting from the 141.016. Not long left though, as he decides to go into the pits again, just like he did in his opening flyer. So has just decided to say, you know what, it's just not worth it. I'm going into the pits this time around, lads. Race Chase as well is really starting to get involved in this battle for the championship as well. He's got up into 8th place. Of course, it's only been 2 races, but is 17 points behind the leader, which is Bavish there. Bavish does seem to be struggling a little bit, and I think he's just currently on a flying lap right now. He's just gone through the spoon curve, and we'll see what he can do. Bavish now with just under 4 minutes to go. This is not where he would have wanted to be, and is now nearly 2 seconds down from the leader, but now has found 2 seconds on his personal best just in Sector 2 alone. So Bavish might be getting ready to knock the timing boards out. Let's see what he can do. Where will he be once he crosses the line? He's already knocked out the triangle. He just needs the final corner. Keep your foot to the floor. It's only 2nd place, but not by much. 200ths there. And Aston Martin to the line as well. I think that was actually Andrew, who also goes 2nd place there and knocks Bavish away. So all of a sudden, Bavish feeling the pressure, and as the championship leader, this could be one hell of a qualifying, and this could be one hell of a Grand Prix already. Despite there only being 1 DRS zone, this could be a very entertaining race indeed. Race Chase is not setting a representative time so far, so he's going to go onto another flying lap. Yellow flag in Sector 2 doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, as I think Andy Andre is just on going around 130R now on his outlap, so this won't count towards his final time. But obviously you don't want to be in the pits at this current moment. You've got to start getting out. It is a long outlap here in Suzuka. And well, drivers are going to try and time this to be the last one across the line. There's a Haas in there for Stapper, who of course is serving a qualifying ban, so he will not be taking any further part, and he will not set a time on the boards. He's put his setup in, and so he will be ready to go once we go racing here in Japan. Of course, a half-distance Grand Prix every evening. Without fail, in all honesty, as Rush the Series has now started his outlap as well. He's just going through the snake section. He's just ahead of Andy as we speak, but there is somebody else who is looking to get started on a final flying lap. It is Bavish trying to make an impression here, trying to go to pole position. Now, of course, the pole sitter from last week was Danger David, but did not finish that race either and is not with us tonight. So, we'll see what happens here. Who is going to take pole position? Rush the Series on top for now, but Bavish starting his last flying lap of this session. And there's an Aston Martin that is of Andrew behind, also starting his final flying lap there. Quincy also going on to his final flyer as well. He will be one of the last across the line. Who is that in the back there? It's not Ryan Brooks. That'll be his teammate, Herman the German, also starting as race chase to pole for now. But race chase there with an electric time. That will be his final inclusion in qualifying. And Moksha again is all the way down to last. Well, near last. That's 10th place there. And oh, Moksha, he's messed up the first corner. It's over. But the McLaren driver, the McLarens with another disappointing showing in qualifying. Will Moksha be in the top 10 while he's got to wait for his teammate to cross the line? We've got Rush the Series coming to the line with 48 seconds. He begins a final flying lap. Tarkangino will have enough time to start another flying lap, but fellow Sun has not come out. He's still in the pits, and Ryan Brooks here is off the pace, but because he's setting up for his final flying lap, and here we go from 5th to no improvement at all. But there's another one of the McLarens, and Moksha will not be in the top 10 for the 3rd week in a row. He cannot go on for another flyer, and that is the end of his qualifying. But one of the biggest shocks so far, race chase on pole. I don't think he will stay there, though, as this comes to an end. Is Bavish coming to the end of his lap, and he is up by half a second. This will be enough, but Rush the Series is still behind. Caution in Sector 1, Tarkangino has had a spin, so no one can improve in that regard. And Bavish to the top. He's pole position for now. Andrew is not too far away, but he can only take 2nd place. What about everybody else? It's Quincy to the line as well, and Quincy 2nd place as the timer winds down. Herman in 3rd, and this is looking like it's all down to Rush the Series, but there's another Aston Martin coming to the line. What about Andy Andre as well? This is flying out of stick and fast here. A race chase is down to 5th, and that might even go further down as Moksha again. No top 10 success here in qualifying, and there was less cars. Rush the Series to the line now. He's going through the Casio Triangle for one last time in this wet qualifying. There wasn't enough time left to get around again, says fellow Sun. Poor for the Hungarian driver. Well, I say poor for Rush the Series. Oh my goodness me, pole position for him. But then Andy Andre says thank you very much and takes another pole position here in SSRL. Who is left? It's Ryan Brooks here to the line. This is looking good. And it's 3rd. So Bavish is knocked off the top 3. But again, for fellow Sun, that is unfortunate. As now Truckster to the line as well. 3rd place. It's changing. As Truckster now in the top 3. What a qualifying from him as Tarkangino. We know he's a volunteer. Real disconnected. Turn 1. Oh, and that is why Moksha, for the 3rd week in a row, will not be in the top 10 in qualifying in Division 1, but fellow Sun just didn't leave himself enough time. Unfortunate for him, but at least, unlike Moksha, he is in the top 10. So fellow Sun swings and roundabouts for him. But otherwise, Verstappen, of course, the only one not to set a time due to a qualifying ban. But Bavish there will be bitterly disappointed with that. But of course, hasn't got too far to go. He did start 5th last week as well. And he was able to get that up into the podium places. So don't count Bavish out of this one at all. He will be ready to go once we are underway. let's just go through your official qualifying results, as it is Andy Andre, Rush the Series, Truckster, Ryan Brooks, and Bavish rounding out your top 5. Great return for Ryan Brooks. And then from 6th to 10th, it is Quincy, Herman the German, Andrew, Race Chase, and Fellow Son. Then from 11th to what will be 14th is Kavachka, Moksha, Talcagino, and of course serving a qualifying ban is Verstappen. And well, with that, we will now go to a quick break. Let's pop on the synthwave, and we will see you here in a few minutes' time. Just to let you know, let's find out when we will be underway again, and we will start at 7:55 p.m. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be a dry race here in Suzuka, and it should be an exciting one. We are not too far away from getting started here in Suzuka. Welcome back. It is round 3 of Season 7 here at the Japanese circuit. It will be a very exciting Grand Prix, all things considered. Now, of course, going into this, Bavish does hold a 9-point lead over Rush the Series, and Andy, of course, in the same boat after being, crashing out in Singapore. Of course, a very rare mistake from him, but it was a light tap in the barrier. And, of course, he will be hoping for less of the same this week and hoping to get back on form. But Andy has got some stiff competition, and especially Bavish there, of course, finally finding his feet and getting things underway. He has been hoping for a championship push for the last couple of seasons now, and he's finally got there. So we'll see what happens as we get into the race. But at the moment, here we are just waiting for the drivers to confirm their strategies, and then we'll have the formation lap. We'll go through the grid one last time before we go through into the actual race. And here we go. Well, let's get that famous music underway, and then we will be going through your grid. So, at the moment, but on pole position, everybody on medium tyres as well, as now we will see Andy Andre in pole position, of course, taking that at the very death. Rush the Series in 2nd place, Truckster in 3rd, with Ryan Brooks in 4th place. Then Bavish rounding out your top 5, and then it's a Williams 5 and 6 with Quincy rounding that out. Herman the German down to 7th after putting his flying lap in at the death a bit too early. Andrew and Race chasing both Aston Martins round out 8th and 9th with the top 10. Fellow Son not leaving himself enough time for another flyer. Kavachka in 11th, beating his teammate, who for the 3rd week in a row fails to qualify inside the top 10. And Talcagino and Verstappen, the latter serving a qualifying ban, round out your 14 drivers. Well, let's just set the precedent. It is hard to overtake here in Suzuka. It is a very, very narrow track. And, well, you've got to make it count. One DRS zone as well, just for good measure. That is only down the start finish straight. And the detection point goes out just on the exit of 130R, which Andy Andre is going down the straight. Now, separating Spoon from the very corner we have mentioned. And, of course, tried to go into tonight to get a hold on his 6th championship in a row. 5 seasons of, well, some of those were challenged by his rival down in 7th place. But, of course, friendly rivals, of course. This is more of a silly season, you know. It's Silly Season Racing League for a reason. And, well, nobody seems to be deviating on strategy. Everybody on the medium tyres to begin their stint. And we are going to see Andy park up in pole. And we're going to wait for the 13 drivers behind him to take their positions. But that should not be very long at all. We have a good view down from... There's an Alpine there in the grass. That'll be Ryan Brooks as his teammate. Lines up, I think. Oh, is that her? No, that was Herman in the grass there, because there you go. Ryan Brooks is now closer and is now parked behind that Ferrari. So that's Herman there in the grass, so I don't quite know what happened there. I don't know if he was avoiding something we couldn't see. But anyway, it doesn't matter now. We're going to have a countdown in a few moments' time. One, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. It's going Japan, and I think there Andy got the better start between the two, but I think Rasiri might have the traction on the exit, and he certainly does there, side by side going into turn 1, and it is Andy who uses that outside line, but then there's contact between Nasiri and Andy, and Nasiri has spun, and there's been more contact, and Rush Nasiri has been involved in contact. And it looks like there's been a front weekend plate gone as Quincy is down to 13th and Moksha already up to 7th. Ryan Brooks. And oh, there's more contact going through the snake. That is the Aston Martin of Race Chase and the Alpine of Brooks going into there. And they did, well, Race Chase came out the loser in that. Rush Nasiri already making up a place there, 13th. So we have a race now as Rush Nasiri wide again through the first Egner and gets it back through the second. But now a lot of places lost, and somebody lost their front weekend plate as Rush Nasiri into the hairpin, dives down the inside of the Aston Martin, up to 12th he goes. But let's see as now the two Alpines are swapping. Herman wasting no time at all, starting from 7th place, losing a position, but wants to get the work done so that he can get back in there and get within that win, as now Rush Nasiri is making quick work of 2 drivers already, and he's not out of this one just yet with the determination he is looking at. This could be one heck of a drive, and it will need to be in these circumstances. Already past the Kick Sauber of Tarkangino as well. He is on a roll at the moment. So there we go. The Ferrari already making moves and carving his way through the field. Andy Andre, of course, sets the fastest lap of the race as he was first across the line on lap 1. But at the moment now, obviously 2 pieces of contact on the first lap. It was Race Chase and Rush Nasiri. They've both suffered from their relevant incidents. And Rush Nasiri making contact with Andy on lap 1. And those two are battling for second place. And Rush Nasiri will think, well, thank you very much for doing that. As now, there was a move there from Verstappen. It was rather optimistic going into the snake section round the outside. That was never going to work for the Haas. And so he sits back for now and waits for another opportunity. The two McLarens are the closest battle on track right now, but that will be soon to change. Verstappen looking faster than Tarkangino in that battle, but let's see. Oh, well, that is going to be a better run for Moksha now. Up to 6th place he goes after a poor qualifying, his wheel disconnecting in turn 1 on his final flying lap. Found him outside of the top 10, of course, into 12th. He is now already up to 6th place, so half those positions have been made up by the McLaren driver, and he is now making his way up the field. 1.5 seconds to fellow son, who has been checked out from the top 4. And of course, there have been moves. Oh, there have been moves up and down the field. Bar one. Are you surprised? It's Andy Andre retaining the lead of the race, and Truckster here, right on the back of the Mercedes driver. Of course, Andy having a much better time than he did in Singapore last week, qualifying in 4th place and not even finishing the race. Well, he's already doing better already as he takes the fastest lap of the race there. Not by much, though, because Truckster has stuck with him, and now Truckster with the DRS. Can he get him into turn 1? Not enough straight there, so we're now going to see what Herman can do on the McLaren of Kvachka, and makes that very, very quick work indeed. 1.2 seconds to Moksha in front now, as Verstappen has been overtaken himself. He cannot make any moves. Just so you know, Verstappen is usually a very quick driver, but I'm surprised he's not really been able to make waves up the field. Of course, Quincy will be hoping to do the same, as Tarkangino has gotten a 3-second penalty for track limit violations, so he's the first driver to get one of those tonight. He won't be the last, but he'll be hoping that's his last additional time. Of course, you have to serve those post-race, remember, as Verstappen was getting very close to the back of Quincy there, but couldn't really make any moves. As now Kvachka has also had a moment on the exit of Deckler 2, so that's another position for Rush Nassiri and everybody else around him. As Quincy breaking left, major contact at the hairpin. What has happened there? Quincy missing his braking point, going into the back of other cars, and there's several pieces of contact, and it looks like Race Chaser's race is no longer going to be chased, as Quincy must be feeling horrible in that cockpit right now. And that is going to be a penalty going Quincy's way, I would imagine. Missing your braking point. Yeah, that was quite dramatic, even by his standards, from a race not too long ago in Montreal. But even then, at least the car didn't go flying. Ryan Brooks under pressure for 8th place here. Rush Nassiri right onto the back of the Alpine driver, and that is as academic as you like. He is up into 8th place, and at the moment, Herman not catching Moksha for 6th place. If anything, Moksha is catching onto the back of that Racing Bulls there, and in the background of your frame, it looked like the Alpine had got a better run than the Ferrari that just overtook him, but that wasn't to be, as Kvachka and Quincy into the pits, and Race Chase there will continue on. Does he have any damage to his car? He might have some side pod damage, or at least some aerodynamic damage, but just on visual impressions, looking like that he is all put together as of right now, so he will continue racing, and he continues on without making a pit stop. But Quincy there might be very annoyed. Let's see what tyres they go on to. Both on the hard tyres. That makes sense in this situation. And well, they will just have to hope for the best here, as Babish now is starting to catch up to the back of Chugster as well. He should really be making a move any time now. And there's Andy Andre at the front of the frame, and there's Andrew here as well. Of course, Andrew and Andy were hoping to have a driver from last season make it a Romanian podium, but sadly he has since left. Well, we of course wish him all the best, but of course I think that will deny the Romanian triple podium, as now Kvachka with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. Tarkangino with another mistake. That's Verstappen up into 10th place. And I was really surprised we didn't see a safety car when those 3 drivers got turned around. But evidently Virtual Race Control said, nothing to it. We'll just continue going for the time being. And, well, the incident did clear itself up. And, well, we didn't see much more of that. Moksha at the moment is still on the back of fellow Sub-VR, but he is much closer as Tarkangino retires in the pit lane. He is taking no further part in the Japanese Grand Prix. He will be the first casualty, thanks to retiring in the pit lane from this Grand Prix. So Tarkangino will not finish. Now, last week, I don't think he even finished that. No, he did finish that race. He found his way from 14th up to 11th, of course. Plenty of DNFs that race, so that will have helped. But this time, he is joining... Oh, Moksha! With a dramatic spin into the hairpin, has to allow the drivers through. But that was a massive lockup. What happened to the McLaren there? That just looked like he got his brake balance all wrong and just went into the hairpin with no other choice but to drift it like Initial D, except it wasn't as epic of a result like it would be in the anime. And now he is down to 9th place, but goodness me, a lot of dramatic spins happening left, right and centre here, and the top 3 have left Andrew behind, so this 4-car battle has become a 3-car battle for the lead, and Babish hoping to extend his championship lead over the Ferrari, who is down in 7th place thanks to contact at the earliest part of the race. But it's made for an exciting Grand Prix, and now Babish to the inside of turn 1, not close enough to do so. Truckster did have DRS in defence there thanks to Andy Andre. But at the moment now, it seems to have settled down, and those three will be line astern for the entire lap unless one of them makes a mistake. And that's what you got to hope for in Suzuka, that one makes a mistake in these corners. And then, of course, you have the straight line between the Spoon and 130R. That's really the next possible overtaking opportunity if you have the ERS and the slipstream to the car in front of you. At the moment now, we're looking at Russell come under pressure from Ryan Brooks. Of course, he overtook the Alpine driver not too, well, about a couple of laps ago, but looks like the pressure is going to be returned from the British driver, who's always happy with a podium, but we haven't seen that for a few weeks. And Ryan Brooks seems to be struggling since coming back from his holiday. Of course, he did have a brief period of illness, and it looks like he is better now, but he is still seemingly trying to get to grips with the game after being away for those couple of weeks. So we'll see if he can make some progress within the next few races. But otherwise, it seems like Ryan is needing to get onto a bit of a recovery period as Dan Rush the Series checks out from the Alpine driver and is now, whoa, as we see a battle for first place there. Truckster nearly losing it through the 130R, upsetting his car by taking that curb there. Of course, that is very easy to do that when you have a car as sensitive as that. But here we go, DRS will open, but Babish has usually had the straight line speed over the Red Bull. We'll of course see Rush the Series do battle with Herman in a few moments time. Of course, these two contended for the championship back in season 3, where Herman eventually came runner-up as Andy Andre took the championship. But that is Rush the Series academically up into 6th place, and he will now be hoping what to do, what Herman couldn't do, and that is catch the Hungarian driver of fellow Son in front. At the moment, of course, if you have just joined us, well, Rush the Series was in the top 3, but then after contact with the Romanian driver of Andy Andre, well, he got sent all the way down to the back, which of course quite a few collisions with other drivers around him. And then, of course, there was more contact after that race chase, and another driver came together later in that same lap. And then, of course, there was a massive moment here at the hairpin as Quincy missed his braking point, and that is why he is down to 13th position as of right now. And so that is how the grid has been shaped up for now. But Russ the Series doing very well to make his way up the field, and he is calming his way through. And Moksha even had a bit of a moment through the hairpin a couple of laps ago. And that is where he is losing a lot of time, lost a lot of time as well, as Rush the Series gets the second part of that corner wrong himself. So down the straight, approaching 130R, he's going to be under pressure from Herman as he got the worst exit. I'm not really sure what's happening here. Anytime these two pass one another, they just can't seem to catch the cars in front, and fellow Son is now getting into the DRS, and maybe the partial slipstream effect there coming from the Aston Martin of Andrew in front there. You've just seen that now as a cut to them. As there we go, Babish and Truckster battling for second place there. That's been developing for a few laps as Tarkangino leaves the session. Bit of afters between the Williams and the Red Bull. And oh, Truckster going into the barrel. He's out. He crashes through the stake and safety car deployed. And that is one less to worry about. Truckster, for the 3rd week in a row, will not finish in the feature race, and he's the 2nd casualty, and he's the reason why the first safety car will be deployed here in Suzuka. It is now going to Constantina the pack up, and guess what? Those that have done a pit stop earlier are going to feel rather relieved, because they can now do another one and get their mandatory stops out the way and go to the end comfortably. So for Kavachka and Quincy, this is a huge blessing if they can take advantage of it and catch up to the field while under safety car conditions. So, more interest coming around, and we'll see what happens. But otherwise, Babish up to 2nd place after that collision. It just looked like Truckster took too much momentum and maybe didn't expect Babish to slow down as much as he did, and that caused contact. And then we saw Truckster go into the wall at the stakes at the beginning. I think that begins turn 2 or turn 3 there. I'll of course double check the track map once I get my hands on it. But at the moment, safety car deployed, and we're going to be under this one for a few laps. We're going to have to wait for Kavachka and Quincy to catch up. Of course, Quincy in the pit lane. I would imagine that Andy will have to do the same now, and everybody forced onto the same strategy. And there we go. The top 2 do indeed come in, and I think Andrew will follow suit as well. Let's get the tyre deltas up so we know who is on what. And I would imagine Rush the Series going to do the same. Quincy, yes, onto those fresh hards, but Kavachka onto a fresh set of mediums. That's not the play, my friend. That is far too early for that. Even I would seemingly know that. I wouldn't have got on to mediums there. Everybody else onto hards there, and even Rustasiri doing the same. So everybody starts on the same compound of tyre and will very much finish on the same compound of tyre. The hards should be able to comfortably go to the end of this Grand Prix. And well, Kvachka trying something different as Moksha, Ryan Brooks and Race Chase all do the same thing. And I wonder if Kvachka will have seen what's happened around him and will think, maybe I've got to pit again. Of course, he does have a 3-second penalty coming his way post-race, so maybe he is just trying something to maybe mitigate that penalty window that's coming his way, but he's going to really find it difficult towards the end of the race. We'll see what happens, though. Race Chase coming across the line now. He's not going to be able to overtake anybody. Nobody in the pit lane as of right now, so we're going to wait for Kovachka and Quincy to catch up. It's going to be over 30 seconds, so that's going to take a couple of laps. So we should be racing by about lap 11 or lap 12, and that will take us through to the end of the Grand Prix. But at the moment now, the Williams in a bit of a sandwich at the moment. If Babish is to overtake, well, that would begin the Williams sandwich. But of course, Quincy will be hoping to make a few positions up. At the moment, those two will be following a delta, and once they come across the start-finish line, they can begin to put pedal to the metal and then get underway. Verstappen now is starting to catch. Is also catching the field, so he will at least have a couple of laps to cool down his tyres, save some tyre life, and save for Race Chase as well. And with those hard tyres as well, honestly, that should be comfortable to the end. It might be a bit tight in terms of the cliff, so we're going to be at 90. Well, they're going to be about 20 to 19 laps, but with 2 additional laps under safety car, that should hopefully get them to the end here. There you go. Verstappen's all caught up, and Race Chase will be the next. But anyway, let's have a look at some of your biggest winners and losers, and of course, biggest winner will be Andy RJ. But of course, I do want to try and catch a DNF interview if that is possible with Trugster. So I'm just going to try and message him on Discord, be a bit braver. As Tarkagino saying, so Tarkagino is having trouble with his back, and that is why he was not racing very well. So he has decided to back out, and that is why Tarkagino has been one of our early retirements. So I'm just asking Trugster for a DNF interview, see if he accepts. Of course, I don't have Discord open on my MacBook, so I'll just actually quickly open that just to keep an eye if he actually does join the commentary booth. And just while we wait for that, I will just keep an eye on it. That's why you can see the pause menu on the game. But otherwise, now I can bring the Discord up, and then I can take you back to trackside pictures at Suzuka. So we'll of course wait and see if Trugster does decide to take a DNF interview. If he doesn't, though, wouldn't really blame him whatsoever. But then again, my timing might be impeccable, and he might already be here. Let's just take a quick look and find out. In fact, I have forgotten to do one last thing as well, and that is to actually go online on Discord. There you go, that will help. And that will let people on Discord know that I am live as well. Would have thunk it. But anyway, no sign of Trugster at the moment, so he might not be coming in. Otherwise, don't really blame him. It did look like it was a rather unfortunate accident. We will say that for free, So unfortunately, Trugster, for the 3rd week in a row, as speaking of the devil, he is here. Trugster, not the Grand Prix you would have wanted. That's the 3rd DNF in a row for you in season 7 in Division 1. Trugster, it's just not been the start to the season you would have wanted.
No, first 7 laps were okay.
Yeah. Can you just take us through the incident from your point of view? It looked like you caught up to the back of Babish, and then you just had the slightest bit of contact with him, and then you were just sent round.
Pretty much it, yeah. Well, we were racing side by side through the first 3 corners, and then he got in front, and then suddenly he was slower in corner, so I just got caught unaware, really, because we were so close. I thought he'd be flat through that corner, and he mustn't have been. It just clipped him and spat me into the wall, like you say.
And well, next week we are going to be in Austin, Texas. Will that be a better track for you to hopefully finish one of these races this season?
Austin's not one of my favourites, if I'm honest. But we'll give it a go.
Trugster, I'm sorry to see you go on lap 7, but otherwise, we do hope for better fortunes for you next week. Trugster, enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow.
You too. Keep up the good work. See you soon.
Bye-bye. And that is Trugster there saying his goodbyes for tonight anyway, for Division 1. And, well, he'll be back with us tomorrow in Division 2. Will be a couple of lessons learnt there, and usually does find a way to finish in Division 2, even if it's, well, you know, he just finishes. Okay, well, anyway, insightful commentary there from myself. All 12 cars are now concertinaed into one pack. So now, with 16 laps to go at the line, we will be racing again. And, well, hopefully no more safety cars for everybody. Should be comfortable to go, well, just about comfortable to go to the end. And, well, despite this being a hard track to overtake on, as, you know, dirty air, and, of course, how wide the cars are nowadays, and, of course, the track being a lot narrower than it is in your pictures. Of course, if you've ever watched Super GT, you can just understand how narrow this track really is. There's not much separating your car from the grass there. So, we'll see how the drivers play out the final 16 laps once we get to the line. But anyway, Virtual Race Control will call in the safety car at any moment, and then it will be Andy Andre to lead us into the first safety car restart. But Ruster Siri given a lifeline, as Bavish is also trying to extend his lead over the Ferrari. But let's see how things play out in the next few laps. Andy Andre, over to you, and once the safety car is in, it'll be up to him to dictate the pace on the restart. And, well, doesn't catch Bavish napping, but Andrew has been caught napping at the back there, so that might leave him vulnerable to both fellow Sun and Ruster Siri. But here we go, Bavish right on the rear diffuser of the Mercedes, and it's turn one without DRS. Andy Andre uses an outside line, but he'll have to remember what happened with Ruster Siri last time out. It's still going to be side by side, but through the snake section, Bavish is kept behind for now, and Andrew will catch right back up, and in all of that, Ruster Siri made up a position. He's now up into 4th place and can see his championship rivals in front of him, but there's an Aston Martin stopping him from a direct view of the rear diffuser of the Williams, and he'll be just hoping to get that doorstop kicked out the way. Not literally, of course, or else that will be a penalty coming the Ferrari's way post-race. But you can already see Ruster Siri is on the move on this restart, as there's a block up there from one of the 3 cars in front of the Siri, but we do not get to see who the guilty party was, as Verstappen making a move at the hairpin on Ryan Brooks there. This is for 8th place, and Ryan Brooks just really isn't finding any rhythm here, as there's a McLaren trying to overtake Race Chase there in the most unlikeliest of places. But no dice there for the Haas driver. And now, of course, just keeping an eye. This seems to be the closest battle on track, but not by much. There's 2 battles happening in one frame. Let's see the McLaren there trying to make a move under slipstream, and he's already going to try, maybe through 130R. Fernando Alonso versus Michael Schumacher from 2005. No dice there for now, as the Aston Martin there actually caught up to the back of the Haas there. I was looking at making a move into the triangle, but no dice there either, as now we will see DRS be activated. Well, not activated this lap anyway, but now the Ferrari is right up close, but not close enough to have a go. But then through the second part, oh, he's trying it again. Very, very brave to try it there, where he had contact with the Romanian who's leading the Grand Prix, and Bavish was not able to take advantage on that restart. Andy defending very well. He tried everything he could, but nowhere to go in the end. And Bavish is already outside of that 1-second bubble. Now, just in case if you're wondering why there is a caution in Sector 1, there isn't. That is just one of the graphic glitches from previous games there. So as soon as we have another yellow flag, or I think it's about 5 laps that get knocked out, that should disappear in a few moments' time. But Bavish now trying to do everything he can to hold on to this 1-second gap. And at the moment, Kovachka with those fresher medium, well, I say fresher medium tyres, with those medium tyres. At the moment, they will be faster at this portion of the stint, but as soon as he gets into the latter portion, so towards the end of the race, they will fall off. But at the moment, he is going to be more of a doorstop to Quincy, but hopefully DRS, well, for Quincy's sake, will get him past, and of course for everybody else as well. Hoping to make some moves there, but here we go. It looks like Bavish is starting to get ready to make his move, and Ruster Siri also getting ready to make his move. Both these two looking like they are on to something, as though Andrew did have the DRS when they got to the detection point. Bavish with the fastest lap of the race. Here we go. We might be seeing a move, and there's two moves happening. Bavish to the lead of the race. Andy fights that back, but what about Rush the Series in the background? He's through, but Bavish takes the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix, but Andy fights that back, and with the inside into the snake, they give each other the room, and Bavish with the move of the century goes through into first place, but how long can he keep it there? That Romanian isn't a 5-time champion for no reason, and now Bavish is hoping to extend his lead on the drivers behind him, but it won't be easy, and there might be drama still to come. The driver from Mauritius is proving you can come from absolutely anywhere in the world, and you can make something great of it. The Mauritians have a role model to look up to here. This is absolutely fantastic stuff from Bavish. He has really come alive this season, and his pace is amazing, and he could be the one to beat and will be the one to bring a championship contention to Andy Andre after we have had 2 seasons basically without any real contention. And Andy Andre is really going to have to get some momentum together, because remember, he of course DNF'd in round 2, and he is at the moment trying to get closer if he possibly can. As Quincy has finally made a move, those medium tyres have fallen off rather quickly for Kovachka, and at the moment Quincy is trying to hold on to that move. It was down the inside at Casio Triangle. He'll have the DRS to try and get away, but Kovachka will also be able to fight back with DRS, but nowhere to go for the McLaren driver. So now Quincy gets ahead, and he is trying to break away from that McLaren on those medium tyres, which look like they've already fallen off. I'm really surprised by that, actually. So looks like that did not last long for the McLaren driver. And at the moment now, well, things are just finally starting to calm down a little bit, but I would imagine Rush the Series. Oh! Who's gone off? That's Andy Andre with another mistake! Andy Andre with an... Oh, what he went through! The second Degners, and he's gone and thrown it all away, and he's even outside the podium, and he's now looking at his championship rival from seasons 2, 3, 4. And now, well, Herman's going to be like, well, I'm not going to make this easy for you, and why should he? Now Rush the Series clear air in front of him. He can start catching Bavish if he has the pace. He's already got that gap down to 1.5 seconds. Is he using ERS to try and get onto the back? As Quincy's in the barrier, he's spun round on the exit of Spoon. And Rush the Series, with insane straight line speed, is trying to get onto the back of Bavish's DRS. He's not going to manage it this lap. Unfortunately for Rush the Series, that is. But for Bavish, he'll be like thinking, well, thank goodness for that. As Bavish is at the moment seemingly struggling with straight line speed on this occasion. And now Rush the Series, well, Bavish had 1 lap of non-DRS pressure, but now he's got it right back, and on lap 16 out of 27, he will be right on to the back of Bavish in a few moments' time, I would imagine, unless if he's used so much of his battery, and that Bavish can then just do the same again and play maybe a bit of ERS chicken rather than DRS chicken. But at the moment, oh, Rush the Series pushing so hard, he's got to make probably a similar mistake to what Andy did on that lap, and he's still behind Herman as of right now. But you can just tell how hard that Ferrari is pushing. He doesn't really need to either. He can just stay within, keep arm's length within that one, well, over that 1 second bubble. Doesn't need to be pushing that hard, but you can tell how hard he's trying to bring down that gap now. Of course, there are certain points that need to be handed out. It is, of course, I think it's 25, 27 points for the win here. I'll, of course, need to double check that when we get a bit of time, but otherwise I can bring up my notes, but otherwise do my best to keep an eye on the action here through the Casio Triangle. And I think we've had a move there. That is Andy Andre and Moksha having a battle, and that's not who we would have wanted to have been battling with when we came into tonight, but already Andy's starting to face a few struggles now. Herman's going to try and defend from the Mercedes driver. He's going to try round the outside there. Andy has made that work with the defensive moves he tried on Nasiri and Bavish. And, well, this time it's an attacking maneuver, and it works perfectly for the Mercedes driver. He's through on his former championship rival, and now we'll start to try and bring down the gap to 4th place. In fact, he's already right there, look. That did not take long at all. Sometimes when the cards are against Andy, he just finds a way to flip him over and make the situation work, and he's doing that yet again. Despite a mistake there, he is still looking at that win, and he is hoping that this dirty air doesn't use his tyres too much. But Rush Nasiri, after that one mistake through the Deglers, has not really been able to bring down that gap to Rush Nasiri, to Bavish either. He is really struggling to try and keep up there. Of course, maybe he's just had a few laps just to recharge the ERS. You can see those red lights flashing at the back of his car. And at the moment, Rush Nasiri trying to catch up as Ryan Brooks there going side by side with Moksha. Moksha's having a bit of an awful stint there after trying to overtake Andy, but Moksha with the straight line speed, nothing Ryan Brooks could do there, and that is the McLaren back through into the 130R. But Ryan Brooks is going to fight this back through the Casio triangle. They're going to go side by side here, and Moksha's going to have the inside for the second part, but then Ryan Brooks with the better momentum on the exit of the corner gets that move done, and Andy Aldre with the fastest lap of the race. But I don't think he's got any DRS to actually fight with, so unfortunate there for the Mercedes driver. And yeah, he doesn't. He's being caught by Herman again as he's left behind by the 4 in front. So Andy off the pace again. Worrying times if you're a fan of the Romanian driver. Of course, I can think of a couple of people off the top of my head who are. But of course, I'm just trying to find some notes as well from the previous race here, just so I can get the points delegation correct. At the moment, though, it's actually been a more action-packed Grand Prix than I thought we would have. As at the moment as well, of course, Quincy having a second incident. That is why he is 42 seconds behind Kovachka there. And, well, we're going to have a caution. Well, as soon as I say that, Kovachka in the wars at the hairpin. We've already seen his teammate go off there in rather dramatic fashion. And now we've seen the other McLaren do that, and that is, of course, Kovachka down in 11th there, and is going to probably lose the touch of the Aston Martin. In fact, he has lost touch. That's 8.2 seconds now. 10 laps to go. It'll be 9 at the line. And now Rush Nasiri is within DRS range of the Williams in front. He has spent a couple of laps recharging his ERS even. And now he's ready to use DRS at this moment. The rear wing opens for the Ferrari. He's not going to be close enough to have a go on this moment in time. And he's just got the fastest lap of the race. But then Ryan Brooks says, I'll take that away from you. Thank you very much. That's a 1:31.146 as now Race Chase and Verstappen. Well, the American finally makes his way past this Kovachka into the pit lane there. Quincy will not be close enough to take advantage of that because he also had to do the same and take a pit stop as well, thanks to damage that he incurred on contact. But now, also another thing to point out, it is a 8-car battle for the lead of the race. All of the cars behind Bavish are within a second of one another, of course, barring Race Chase and now Moksha. But of course, remember, there's only one DRS zone on this track, and that's at the start-finish line. Of course, there on the track map, you can see that green part where the checkered flag is. That is where the one and only DRS zone is. As Rush Nasiri gets closer and closer to Bavish, bringing the Williams into his crutches. And Andrew as well is following suit, trying to keep it within a second as well, as Andy Aldre is going to try and take yet another podium in his SSRL career. And at the moment, it's just been a bit of a torturous couple of weeks. And, well, he is probably looking at the championship slipping away soon. As now he is just coming in. Well, Rush Nasiri is coming into battle with the Williams through the Casio triangle. He goes. And now we are surely about to see a move, potentially from the Ferrari. He gets a better exit than the Williams. The Williams knows he's there as well. He is currently catching, and there we go. He's going to be the outside for the Ferrari, and he gets it done. What a move there under DRS as Rush Nasiri takes the lead of the Grand Prix, and these two have checked out from Andrew, but I imagine that gap will come back to the Aston Martin as it begins to even out. And yeah, already you can see those 2 tenths that Rush Nasiri gained have already been depleted, and we are back to it is an 8-car battle for the lead of this race. And well, Siri has had an impressive recovery drive here, and if he is to take his second win in a row, it is going to be in one of the best races possible, and Andy Andre at the moment won't be on the podium either. So this has just been absolutely incredible, as there's been a moment there as I heard a bit of a bang in my right ear, as then Moksha, no, sorry, that's between Verstappen and Race Chase, beg your pardon. It's having a bit of a swap. So Verstappen, I think, made a move on Race Chase there. Of course, Race Chase was in 9th place, but the two have now swapped. So we'll see what is going on there. But Babish now is still trying to check out from Andrew there. And Andrew will not have DRS on this lap, so it's going to be between Babish and Rush the Siri, and I wonder if these two are working together to try and check out from the drivers behind. But as soon as they go through any kind of corner, those drivers just come right back within, as now Babish is, well, going to try and follow Rush the Series slipstream, and is going to try and have a go into turn 1, but isn't close enough to do so. And now Andy Andre may be bold enough to have a go. What about Herman or Ryan Brooks? Will these two swap? Nope, not at all, as Moksha there continues the train for the time being. But Andrew, definitely slowest of the lot now, as Babish and Rush the Series are gone. They are riding it into the sunset, and I think are partially working together. At the moment, Babish hoping to take his second win of the season, and Rush the Series hoping to take his second win in a row. Of course, won out last week in Singapore after qualifying 3rd, and well, Rush the Series has had to qualify from 2nd place there, and will be taking yet another win. As, oh no, Ryan Brooks has made a mistake there at the 2nd Degner, has lost the front wing end plate for good measure, and has lost 2 positions to Moksha and Verstappen. Has been able to hold off Race Chase, but for how? Well, no, he hasn't, sorry. Race Chase now up to 9th as well. And here we go again. Babish is right, well, up at a half a second behind Rush the Series, and I just wonder if we're going to have some DRS games from the two, as Kavachka has made yet another mistake through the snake section, as Quincy takes the fastest lap of the race there with soft tyres, so he's gone soft till the end of the race, hoping to get an extra point. There you go, Babish takes a much better line through the Casio triangle, and will have the better exit than the Ferrari, I would imagine. Listen, the Ferrari's got a trick up its sleeve, but here we go, DRS opening for the Williams driver. And well, Herman and Andy are also doing battle there, but Babish and Rush the Series have, well, nearly swapped places there, but it didn't come to fruition. And again, Herman is still keeping Andy behind there. They look to have gone side by side down the start-finish straight, but as Herman would have had DRS to fellow son in front, well, no, sorry, I'm sorry, Herman swapped. Yeah, so Herman got ahead there. He's up into 5th place, and Andy loses another position there. Goodness me. This is turning into a nightmare Grand Prix for the Romanian driver. This will be one to forget, that is for sure, as I thought I heard yet another collision there. At least I keep hearing something. Unless if it's my mind playing tricks on me, but at the moment, Rush the Series is going to try yet again to make a move on for the lead of the race. He's still within that half second, despite the dirty air coming from the car in front. He is making everything work, and it is looking like it's going to be victory Rush the Series so far. He's within DRS, but this time he's much closer, and he's going to try it into Casio Triangle. Of course, who will have DRS? And Babish even has had a bit of a moment going through the triangle, had to bounce onto the curb, but he still has the momentum, and he has DRS as well. Rush the Series surely has to just let this go, or does he? No! Williams, with no straight line speed at all, is unable to keep up, as now Moksha and Andy loses another position. Andy is dropping down the field. What is going on with the Mercedes? Is he having to fuel save, maybe? And that's why he's losing so much time to the cars around him. Andy Andre is off character this week when the cards are down, and he's got nothing to come back with. This is a real shocker here. The past 2 Grand Prix haven't got his way. And for once, is the competition too stiff for the Mercedes driver? Moksha goes very wide at the 2nd Degner. But we have a hell of a Grand Prix, and is Quincy going to ruin that with a safety car? No, he will not. He will continue on. But of course, once we get to 3 laps to go, that will mean that no matter what happens, no safety cars will be called, and it will just be forensic action as Herman now up into 4th place. Here we go. Herman coming alive at the end of this race. Is he on for the win potentially? There will not be a lot of time once he gets to the start-finish straight on the final lap, but he is making moves and he's making it happen. He's going to be ahead of Andy, one of his rivals in previous championships. But also, he's really wanted to try and fight for the championship, and he's putting on a very good case to do so. Just needs to defend from fellow Sun into this first turn. He does exactly that, and is now looking at Andrew now as Race Chaser and Verstappen again swap positions for 8th place, and Andy there not able to get past the McLaren on that time of asking, as Ryan Brooks gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. It matters very little. He has the next car behind him is 40 seconds, which is Kavachka. So not really going to affect his race all that much, but I'm keeping an eye on this top 5 at the moment. These all are battling for what is the lead of the race, and Herman is making progress as he continues forward. And at the moment, at this 3.6 mile long circuit, it is surely going to be either Rustasiri, Bavish, Andrew, or Herman the German, hoping to actually get a second podium, as now Verstappen and Race Chase do battle again for 8th place. It's Verstappen that comes out on top, but of course he'll be vulnerable to DRS when we are next round the start finish straight, as Andrew now is starting to feel the pressure from this season 1 champion, and hasn't had a world champion since then in the drivers in SSRL. He is trying everything he can at the moment, but of course Rustasiri has got 3 more laps to defend, and no safety cars will be called from this moment forward. But Herman has a great exit on the exit of the Casio Triangle. Andrew will have DRS and an ERS, as Herman has to go to decide between the outside or the inside. Couldn't make either one work. Race Chaser and Verstappen, of course, swap places. And there's Ryan Brooks trying to get involved there. And then there's nearly contact between the two. As at the moment now, they go close together through turn 2. And Ryan Brooks nowhere to go. Rides that curb, unsettles the car. And he has to give up that battle for the time being. But here we go. Again, we focus on this, and Bavish still can't find a way through that Ferrari. Is he just biding his time until the final lap? Maybe that's the play here. We're going to have 2 to go at the line, and there'll be not a lot of time left to make any sort of plan work. That's how Bavish there is trying to look down the inside at the hairpin. But here we go now. Again, as they get more slipstream advantage for the Williams, and just nowhere to go with it for the time being. You can see how difficult it is to overtake once Bavish gets close. There's just no room to maneuver inside or outside, and we'll see if he can turn anything. He's not got a lot of time left. He's going to have one last opportunity, the lap after the next. And well, that lap is about to begin. Caution in sector 1 for Kavachka. It doesn't matter. The race will not be stopped for a safety car or anything like that. Quincy into the pit lane to allow everybody through. He does not want to influence this race negatively or positively for anybody. So he's off into the pit lane, and Herman still can't get close enough. And I think that's probably as far as he's going. As Bavish again, still no way through. As now Andy finally makes an overtake, and it's been a really downer race for the Romanian, and of course the current champion in SSRL in Division 1. And this one has been a massive shock to the system for anybody who watches SSRL from week to week, as everybody is now saving their ERS, waiting to have a go at each other when they next come to the line. Are we going to see a 3 or 4 wide extravaganza when we start lap 27, the final lap? There'll be only 3.6 miles separating one of these 5 drivers from victory. But at the moment, Rustasiri looks to have the upper hand as of right now, and he will be leading the cars behind him, which are only 4 of them within the range of him. We'll see what happens. But now everybody is getting prepared as DRS will be activated for the final time in a few corners. Rush the Series with a fantastic combat drive, but Babish here, of course, has only proven to go from strength to strength. Started in 4th place, started tonight in the lead of this championship. Will lose a bit of ground if things stay as they are, but here we go. 3.6 miles, one more lap. Here we go. Herman is not close at all. Andrew is much closer to Babish. Babish has lost a lot of ground there that he needed, but nobody is close at all. And I think that is it, unless if somebody is saving something for the final straight, which of course is Spoon Curve, which of course is, well, Spoon Curve through to 130R as Verstappen and Race Chase make a swap there. But nobody able to make a move within that top 5, and that might be it. But unless Babish can really find the most unlikeliest of overtaking spots, and that would be through here. Not quite close enough. Maybe at the hairpin. That's certainly a feasible opportunity if he can get close. He's getting way, way, way closer, but not close enough there. He's going to try it. Oh my goodness me. For somehow found a car's width there to fit through. But Babish is saying to Rush the Series, you are not safe yet. You still have 1.8 miles to go. You are not safe yet, my friend. And now through the Spoon Curve, Babish is still close there. Has Rush the Series saved enough of his battery? He's deploying it. They're all deploying it down this straight. And, well, Rush the Series doesn't have a slipstream. He has not got anything. Babish with the advantage here. And I don't think he's going to do it. He is at 0.4 of a second now, but Herman might be posing a move, maybe. No one is close enough, but Babish got a better exit through the Casio triangle. No, he didn't. So that means it is Rush the Series winning in Suzuka. Babish second, Andrew third. And despite Herman's best efforts, he can only manage a 4th place. 5th is Fellow Son, 6th is Andy Andre, 7th is Moksha. Verstappen in 8th at the end of all of that. Race Chase will come home as, there's been contact between Race Chase and Verstappen, I think, as Kvachka now will be going through his final lap. And also, 12th will be Quincy once he comes to the line. He's a lap down. But wow, what an upset for Andy Andre for the 2nd week in a row. No podium, no win. And this championship is going to be one hell of a climb. He's going to need to have a comeback in these next few races, or else he's going to make himself an outside contention for the championship as we get into the halfway point. Kvachka now approaches the Casio triangle here. This will be his final lap. And, well, despite decent points, perhaps on a consistency basis, one to forget. But Rush the Series takes his 3rd win in a row. That was a class drive. A class defensive drive from Rush the Series. As soon as he got past Babish, he had that pressure right up until the end of the race. And he went and did it. The podium celebrations begin here in Suzuka. The Ferrari, the Tifosi driver, takes the top step. And the champagne will spray at any moment now. But Andrew back on the podium after what feels like forever. A Romanian, the other Romanian in this league, finally back to where we feel he belongs. And Babish taking his second place in a row, but I think that's his 3rd podium of the season. So consistency being a key for Babish's championship charge. Your unofficial race results. The top 3 are Rush the Series, Babish and Andrew, followed by 4th place Herman and 5th place Fellow Son. 6th to 10th, Andy, Moksha, Verstappen, Race Chase and Ryan Brooks, with 11th to 14th being Kvachka, Quincy, Truckster and Tarkagino. Of course, the 2 drivers to DNF were Truckster because of a crash with Babish, and that spat him out into the wall, and Tarkagino having a bad back, unable to finish the race. As you probably heard by that clogging there, we do have some of the drivers already with us, but I do just kind of want to go through a final few talking points there, as I'm just going to have to mute. I'm just going to have to deafen for the time being. And, that was certainly a Grand Prix, and I think one of the biggest upsets there, of course, as we say already, Andy Andre not on the podium. How on earth do you now recover it from here? He has recovered it in Season 3 and Season 4, where he had awful starts to the season. But outside of the podium on that race alone, of all the races you could be outside the podium, that was probably not the one. And he was way far off as well. Not even in the top 5. He was, as soon as he lost the lead, he just kind of fell away from contention. So that's something he's going to have to work on. But Bavish again, I do think that's the 3rd podium in a row for the driver. He muted. Yes, I've been told he has been muted at last. So there we go. Thank you very much to you know who there. But like, just one last point as well is that I think it's Bavish 3 podiums in a row. Let me just check that very quickly. But otherwise, consistent across the board. And that has been a tale of his season so far. And in these first 3 races, he has just been absolutely impressive. I'll check that for him in just a second, though. But let's get podium interviews underway. Time's not on our side. Rest of the series, 2nd win in a row. Congratulations to you. That must have been amazing. And after the contact with Andy on lap 1, you carved your way through the field. You looked unstoppable tonight.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, man. It felt good, yeah. After turn 1, it felt good, yeah. I just misjudged. I broke a bit too much. Then I saw like I'm way too slow for the corner. Then pressed the throttle a bit again, and then ran into the back of Andy. So I was just happy. I didn't kill anybody there, did I?
I don't know. We kind of saw a little bit of an aftermath, but I can't confirm if you were
Yeah,
involved
that's
in that.
yeah. I think there might be some fallout in the field further behind. Yeah. So sorry about that, guys. And yeah, after that it was a pretty clean race. I had one mistake where I went into the gravel, but yeah. As soon as I had the lead, I just started saving my battery, saving my tires, and just pushing where I needed to stay in front. And yeah, that worked out pretty well.
And of course, now with your 2nd win in a row, you reduce the lead down to Bavish as well. I'm just trying to make sure I can actually get the points up just to make sure I am in tune with the standings as they are right now. So it is 26 points, and with Bavish finishing 2nd, that's a 5-point gain. And of course, going into tonight, just to remind everybody at home, it was a 9-point deficit, and now that's a 4-point deficit. So, are you going to try and make it 3 in a row next week in Austin, or do you just feel like you just need to just get a good result and get out of there?
Um, I love winning races. I've never thought about winning championships, so primarily I just love the feeling of winning races. So I'll go with that. Just trying to win every race and then see where it ends.
All right. Well, Russell Siri, thank you very much for taking my questions tonight. That's your 2nd win in a row. Congratulations.
Thank you, mate.
You're welcome. Moving on, we now have Bavish in the podium. It was 2nd place in the end, but you led for so long, and in the end, it just couldn't quite happen. You just really couldn't find the momentum to overtake Russell Siri. What do you think kind of was the difference between you and him this evening?
Yeah, thank you for Peter. Of course, I'll take it for today. It was a tough race with a few questionable moves, of course, at the start. Not at the start, but I would say mid-race really. So, and then after losing Andre, of course, I did lose a bit of focus where I think Rush did catch me at the end because I thought I'll save a bit my tire. We did pit like probably one lap earlier, so I thought I'd save my tires for the end because you should still be able to push. I tried to take P1 again because, of course, I saw he had very low wings on the straight, and I was just trying to see how I can overtake him. It was impossible with DRS as well. The only way was the last corner where I thought I'll just go for my attack, but I think he did tap me off the corner, so we'll see what happens there. But with P2, yeah, have to take it today. Have to take it.
And of course, we go into next week at Austin, Texas. You've, of course, came into tonight with a 9-point advantage, and now that's gone down to 4 points. Is there maybe a little bit of pressure creeping into round 4? Is it just a bit too early to be thinking about that?
Next week is definitely not my favorite track, so I've not really raced much there. So yeah, I don't know. For me, it's an unknown at the moment, pace-wise and everything, and even learning the track. So it's going to be a challenge. I don't think I'll expect to be on the top for next week. So that's why today it was important to go for that win, and yeah, um, unfortunately, the savings and tires did cost me because um, I was clearly faster as well. Sector 1, Sector 2, with few lockups as well, it was just difficult to just try and attack as well.
And something
But no, next week is going to be very difficult.
well, of course, for your sakes, we hope for the best. But otherwise, one thing I do want to kind of touch upon as well is that everybody at the start very much had the same strategy. Of course, the one safety car brought out by Trunkster's crash with yourself was, of course, a massive turning point in the race. And, well, that kind of decided everybody's strategy. It was very much medium to hards, and only one driver really deviated away from that. Was there anything in the strategy in there? And also, just talking about the incident with Trunkster, could you give us your POV on that as well?
It's definitely a one stop. The tires still feel good. The grip, obviously, the grip is there on the track. I think with a bit of higher wings, I would say mid wings, I think you can really perform well on this track. And the deck's still very nice to drive, even though you're close to your first stint and about to pit. So yeah, no, tires, track feels good. I would recommend staying on a one stop. Pitting lap 11 is ideal, I would say. 10 also is okay, but you've always got to think about the last lap on those hards. Tires, like I say, not a problem. In regards to Truckster, I was not too sure what happened. I think he tried to go for the next corner, but I think he was a bit too behind, in my opinion, because I'd even see the arrow on my screen. So for me, I was just taking the corner, and of course, I could see he was making a few mistakes when I was behind him. So I was just trying to be patient. There were a few times I could have dived him as well. I think I was right behind him. I could have been aggressive, but I thought I'd be patient, until I can overtake cleanly and everything. So yeah, I thought he would let me go easy, but I'm not too sure what happened. I just felt somebody tap my rear tire, and that was it. And then next thing I saw Truckster in the wall. So I'm sorry about that, of course. We can have the stewards have a look as well, no problem. But yeah, unfortunate for him, he had really, really good pace, and I was happy to obviously see him in the top three, and then going for that fight, because it was very difficult today to be able to pull that kind of pace, of course, with how we were going, me, Andre, and Truckster. But such a shame, yeah, such a shame for Truckster.
All right, well, Bavish, it is, I think, your third podium in a row. Of course, you got second place last week. You get second place this week, so 2 second places in a row. But otherwise, it's been a very good start to the season for you. Hope it continues. But no, it's not your third podium, actually. So, because I think you actually...
It is my second podium.
Yes, your second
in a row,
podium in a row,
because
then.
Yeah, I went P4 in Baku. Big mistake, should have been P2 again.
Yes, I remember now. That's all come back to me. All right, then. Bavish, thank you so much for taking my questions tonight. We will see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
GG everyone. Congrats to the podiums, and thank you for the stream.
You're very welcome. Andrew, long time no see. How are you doing, buddy? Congratulations on P3 there. That kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest. I mean, it looked like you were going to be just on the fringes there. I think you qualified. I'm just trying to look at where you were, just based on the results. But you were rounded about the fringes of the top 10, and you found yourself on the podium. How was that?
First of all, thank you to the guys in front. Very, very good. What can I say? Qualifying as usual is not my strongest point, but nice to be on the podium. I was sure that racecraft would be very good. I tried to stay with the front runners. Geez, guys, what wings were you using? Because I had decently low wings and I couldn't catch anybody on the straight. I was using battery like crazy, and I didn't manage to break that gap. I was quite fast in the high speed section. I was closing in, but always had to use a lot of battery on the straight just to protect my position, because I couldn't do much. But yeah, long time no see. A miserable start to the season for me. I was gutted for the mistake in Singapore. I think, with all due respect, Rush is very, very quick, but I think in Singapore I was the fastest driver pace-wise. But you know, sometimes it's just how it goes.
Mm.
But Suzuka, very, very good track for me. Decent results, and hopefully, it will start to the season will start to come back to me.
Of course, you're not the only one who's not the only Romanian who's having a tough start to the season, but you guys always seem to find a way to bring it back when the cards are down. So, of course, we're not going to count you guys out just yet. But of course, your fellow Romanian Andy not having the best of season starts either. Obviously, like, you know, you've had to get used to the handling of the game, and obviously we're now deep into the F125's life cycle now. What has been kind of a learning lesson from F124 to F125 that has been able to help you improve and like develop your racecraft over these previous couple of seasons you've been with us?
Yeah, the main difference between F124 and F125 is basically dirty air, which is way more pronounced in F125. You have to manage that if you're in the pack. Usually, I'm not the fastest driver pace-wise, and so I have to stick behind faster drivers to protect my tires, to learn to how to manage fuel, manage URS, and especially manage tires. I felt that tonight I did a good job, considering that the guys in front were kind of fighting. I know Bavish wanted to go for the overtake, and he was forcing Rush to use his battery, to use his tires, and I was kind of hoping that they would eventually destroy their tires in such a way that I could be better than them on the traction zones. Unfortunately, also my tires were a bit beat up because I had to push. Herman was coming from behind. Fellison at some point was pushing me from behind, so I had to basically use my battery to stay with the front runners, because other than that, if they would overtake me like Rush did, I was sure that I wouldn't get the position back. I don't know what wings they were using, but I couldn't do much. So I knew that more than P3 with the current wings I had was something that I could benefit only from a mistake from the guys behind, in front. Sorry.
No, but otherwise we do hope that this form of yours does continue on into next week. Of course, we're in Austin, Texas. How are you feeling about that?
Usually, I kind of like technical tracks, and I consider Kota being a technical track. I had decent results there. I think I won a couple of races in other leagues as well. Of course, let's see where I put the car first in qualifying, because, as you know, qualifying is not my strongest point. This is something I have to work on, because I think I'm not being very aggressive. It's my driving style, I'm sure of that. But Kota, I think, would reward my driving style. I have to do some laps. I have to think about the strategy, tire deg, fuel. With tire deg, it will be an interesting option. We will see if it's a one-stop or a two-stop. We don't know yet.
Lots to find out. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for taking my questions this evening. It has been good to talk to you, and we hope this can continue for the next few weeks. See you around.
Cheers, Dave, and thank you for everything you do. It brings a joy always in my face listening to your commentary in our streams. So thank you for that.
You are most welcome. Thank you for your kindness. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.
And with those kind words of Andrew, we will end it there. Of course, we are not going anywhere. We are going to be right here, right now, tomorrow. Well, not right here, right now. Right here, tomorrow night, for Division 2. Herman will be in the commentary box with us, of course. And in case you need a reminder, well, of course, that will be still in Japan for round number 3. And then we'll obviously, as I've mentioned a couple of times during the post-race interviews, we'll be off to Japan. And then it will be, well, we'll be off to Japan then, but then we'll be off to the United States. We'll be off to Texas, Austin, and then it's Mexico, followed by Brazil with our first one-shot full qualifying. And of course, we'll go through all of that at a later point. Then we're off to Italy, and then it's United States, Las Vegas, and then it's Lusail, Qatar, with Abu Dhabi in Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi. Then the finale, I don't think we are going ahead with that Mystery Grand Prix. I will have to ask, though. But then it's off to the United States for a full qualifying session. Not be a one-shot. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I'm not sure if I'm going to be here all season. But, of course, with whatever time is remaining, there will be a commentator coming to take my place, which we have got all arranged when needed. I'll keep you all updated. But until then, we will keep going, and it will be back with me and Herman for tomorrow night. And until then, from wherever you may be in the world, we all wish you a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.